Hello, this is Razan from DataClear. Welcome to the walkthrough video of my Google Search Console Local Studio template. This dashboard has 5 sections. At the extreme left is the navigation section. At the top of the navigation section is the title of the page that you are currently viewing, and then you can see the pages available on the dashboard here. You can scroll down to see the rest of the pages, and at the bottom of the navigation section are links to my social profiles. At the top of the dashboard is the filter section. The second section is the filter section, and you can find that at the top of the dashboard. Or let me call it the primary filter section. And then the primary filter section also has the data control, which when you click on it, you can see all the search console properties that your Gmail address have access to. So if you click on one of them, any of them, the dashboard will be populated by data from that particular search console property. And then the filter section also has the date range selector. So you can see the selected date range, default date range is the last 28 days. But if you can change that to any of the date options here, and you can manually select the date that you want. You can change the month by clicking on the arrow and go back, and then you can change the year by clicking on anyone that you want. And then you can also use the advanced option. Then you also have the search type selector here. So if you click on it, the default one is web. So you can change to how your images are performing on Google search, or how your videos are performing on Google search, or your news article, or you can filter by discover data on your Google search from your Google search console. And then you have the landing page, the query, country, and the device filters here. So if you click on any of these filters, they are the same thing. You can, if you want to analyze by just one query, for example, you can click on this only, and the entire dashboard will be filtered by that by that query only. And then you can also search any query that you want to filter by. Then to select multiple but not all query, you can deselect all and just select the ones that you want to analyze. So the use case is the same for every other filter: landing page, country, then device category. That's all about the filter section. And then the third section is the key metrics section here. As you can see on the key metrics section at the top, you can see the name of the metric, and then you can see the aggregated value for the selected date range, which in this case, like I said earlier, is the last 28 days. And then you can see comparison to the previous period. So you can see how is it performing comparing to the previous period. And you can see the bar charts here that are showing you trends over the last 12 months plus the current month. So this video is being recorded on the 28th of December 2025. So you can see how this particular metric is performing for the current month. And I said the last 12 months and the current month, which means 13 bar, but you are seeing 5 bars here. This is because the website to search console data used to design this dashboard is a very new website. So it's only 5 months old. So that's why you are seeing data for here for the last 5 months only. But this is how it's supposed to look like. So it's supposed to look like this. So if your search console have data for the last 13 months, this is exactly what the bars will look like. So you can see data from the last 12 months, including plus the current month. So let's get back to our search console data. So the key metrics I'm tracking from the overview page are impressions, clicks, CTR, average position, unique query, then unique pages. I believe impression, clicks, CTR, and average position are self-explanatory, but unique query is the number of query you are currently ranking for, the website currently ranking for, or the properties currently ranking for, and the same time as the unique pages, number of pages that are currently ranking. So, and then the third section of this dashboard is the trend section. So it's showing you the daily breakdown of how each of the key metrics above are performing on a daily basis. So you are seeing a daily breakdown for the last 28 days, because that's what we select from the date range selector. If you change that, then the trends will be daily breakdown for the selected date range. So you can change from daily breakdown to weekly breakdown. So you can change to weekly view to see how each of the metrics are performing from the compare for using sim weekly and not just daily. And as you can see, it's comparing to the previous period. So you're not just seeing how it's performing for the selected date string, you're also seeing how it's performing compared to the previous period. And then if you click on the down arrow key, you can see monthly performance. So if you click here, you can see how it's performing for compare on a monthly basis. But if you if you compare the monthly data that you're seeing here to the ones that are here, you will see that it's not accurate. This is because this particular chart is affected by the date range selector, like I said, which is the last 28 days. And last 28 days only have one day from November, and the rest of the days are from December. But if we are to change this, let's just change it to November to see how this actually works. So if you change to November, now you can see November is 2,554 impressions. Compare, and then you can see comparison to October. So impression, if you check for here, you can see it's exactly the same thing for November. So if you can select multiple months. So let's say you just don't want to see from September to November. So you can see from September to November. So as you can see, it no longer have data for for the comparing to the previous period except for November. So this is because the comparison to the previous period is comparing to the previous 91 days. So this, like I said earlier, this website is fairly new. It doesn't have data from June of 2025, which is what previous 91 days to September will be, and then previous 91 days to October will be July. So that's why there's no data. And previous 91 days to November will be August, and this website was launched in August, so that's why there's data there. And then apart from that, you don't necessarily have to select date range from here. You can also use the advanced filter. So you can change this to today, and then this again to today, and then you can change to the last 3 months, 3 months, and then you can change to the last 1 month. So it will be comparing, it will be showing you data from September 1 to November 30, which is exactly the same thing I did right there. And you can see it's exactly the same thing. So that's how to use the monthly view of the trend section. And then the last section of the dashboard, let me click on reset to go back to the daily breakdown. So the last section of this dashboard is the breakdown section, and this comprises of these two charts and then the table. So as you can see, the chart at the sidebar here is the performance by days of the week. So you are seeing how for the trend section, it has this icon. It means optional metric icon. So the default metric here is impression. So if you click on this, you can select any other metric. So you don't want to see the trends for impression, and but for click, you can see trend for click, and then you can also combine it. So you want to see impression for both clicks and impression, or maybe for both for clicks, impression, and CTR. So you can see all of them in one view with their comparison to the previous period. So anywhere you see this icon, it means optional metric. So the same thing applies here. This chart is showing you performance by day of the week. So you are seeing how each of these metrics are performing from Sunday through Saturday. So if there's any pattern here, maybe majority of your users are coming during the week or in the weekend, you can see exactly that here. And then the optional metric here allows you to change from the default metric, which is impression, to clicks. And again, you can also combine them and see how they are performing over time, by days of the week rather. And then another one here is the breakdown by country and device category. So anywhere you see this icon, it means drill down, and this one means drill up. So you can allow you to change dimension or granularity. So, and then again, we have the optional metric here. So by default, you are seeing breakdown by country for impression. So you are seeing the pressure for United States, Australia, Germany, and their comparison to the previous period. and the previous period is previous 28 days because the selected int range is last 28 days. So if you drill down, you will see performance by device category instead. So yeah, they are seeing performance by device category: desktop, mobile, and then tablet. And then again, you can change the metric here from impression to clicks, CTR, average precision, and then again unique queries. Then you have unique queries here, show you the trends of how many query you are ranking for the particular period, whether it's daily breakdown or monthly breakdown or weekly breakdown. So unique queries will tell you how many. Let me just click on it. So you can see how many query, how much query a particular country is ranking for. So as you can see how of a comparison to previous period. So you can go back to the default metrics and dimension here, and then you have this last table here, which is part of the breakdown section. So it's showing you queries and landing page performance. So we are breaking down each of these key metrics by query and then landing page, and then you have these advanced filters here. You have query advanced filters and landing page advanced filters. So select you can select queries that have something in common, and then you can also change this to from content to equals, or start with regex, or use regex, or use in. So let's say you only want to analyze by query that contains Google Ads. So if you search Google Ads, you see the entire dashboard will filter by only queries that contains Google Ads. As you can see. So you can also change that to equals or start with. Like I said earlier, we click on reset here. You can see, I see all the query again. So as you can see, it's also comparing to the previous period. So you can do the same thing with the advanced landing page filter here. So that's all about the overview page. The next page of the dashboard is the query analysis page. The sections are the same thing. You have the navigate for every page on this website. You have the navigation section, you have the key metric section, trend section, then the breakdown section, and then you have the filter section. Sometimes in few pages, this section can be used as a navigation bar button, but I think that only is for the decay analysis page and the rank analysis page. You will see what I mean when we get there, but for the most part, this section is for the filter, is for filter. So as you can see, we have only the query filter here. So the use case is the same thing as before. You can click on only to filter the entire dashboard by that particular query, and then you can start the query that you want, and then you can deselect all and then select the ones that you actually want to analyze. And then you will see how the date range selector here, and then the key metrics I'm tracking on the query analysis page are impression, clicks, unique queries. We already know what these three are, but these are calculated metrics. So these are queries with clicks, and then these are percentage of clicks from unknown query and percentage of impression from unknown query. Unknown query means anonymized query. You might know it as unknown query. Some people might know it as anonymized query. Anonymized query in Search Console are queries that Google isn't showing you. So you can see the clicks, you can see the pages that get the clicks, the countries that get the clicks, but Google isn't showing you the query that actually brought that clicks. So this is because of privacy issues. So you can use it to know how many percentage of your clicks are from unknown query. As you can see for this particular website, 100% of the clicks are from unknown queries. I can see the query with clicks is 0, but the clicks are 12. So if you check the pages and country, you see they have 12 clicks. But if you check the queries, you will see that it's 0, because you see that it's 12, but you will not see which query actually brought those clicks. So you can see, and then you can see the same thing performance by the last 12 month plus current month. And then the trend section is the same thing. So the default metric here again is impression, and then you have optional metric icon to change to change the metric or combine multiple metric to analyze for further analysis or deeper analysis. And then you have the drill up option for weekly view and the drill down option for monthly view. And then you will have new charts here, which is the scatter or bubble chart. So this is performance of each query by average position and the impression. So the further to the left, the higher the position of the query, and the higher it is here, the bigger the number of the number of impression that that particular query is getting. And the bigger the circle is, the higher the number of impression that particular query is getting. So you can see the query name, the average position, the impressions that it's getting. So you can use this for many analysis. So you can see which queries are ranking the top 20 in the top 20 positions, and the number of impression that they are getting. You can use to dictate which query. You can also use to dictate which query has high impression but are not currently ranking well. So you can use that to optimize your website or the pages. So if for any query that are getting high impression, maybe the page that they are currently ranking for does not cover does not cover enough topic to satisfy that particular query, then maybe you can dedicate a new page to that particular query to allow Google to rank it better. And then you can do a lot more analysis with this particular chart. And then the second chart, bubble chart, is very similar, but you are seeing things like this because this particular website does not have much, could not have clicks at all. So you are seeing majority of the clicks and CTR are 0, 0, 0, 0. So it's supposed to look like if there were clicks. So there will also be CTR if there are clicks. So but the point of this particular chart is to allow you to see which queries are getting clicks, and what's the CTR for those particular query, where are they actually ranking. So if a particular query is getting clicks and has high CTR but is ranking low, you can optimize that particular query to get even more clicks. And you can also use it to figure out which queries are ranking low. So they are ranking the top three top three or the top 10 position, but are getting low CTR. It might be the case of maybe SAP features like feature snippets or AI mode or AI overviews that are stopping them from getting clicks. Or maybe it is just that the title isn't relevant to what people are searching. So they can use the particular to detect those kind of query and pages, and then you can optimize your content using this particular chart. And then at the bottom, you have another table, which is how each of the queries are performing. So you can see breakdown of each of these key metrics by queries. So you can still see the advanced filter here, like I explained earlier, and then you can see the search type. So you can change from web to images and then video and every other thing else. And you can see the filter for country, device category, and query length. So if you click on this query length, you can filter by short query or long query. Short query are query that have 3 words or less, while long queries are query that have 4 words or more. So you can filter. Some people will call this short tail and long tail keyword, but that's actually not correct. You can read more about that. So I decided to use short query and long query instead. So you can see this table is also comparing to previous period, and you have all the key metrics here. All the filters are on table at the bottom here. I call them the primary, the secondary filter here, but you can use them for further and deeper analysis of your website. So you can always scroll down to see more queries. Yeah. And then the next page of this dashboard is the page analysis page. It's very, very similar to the query analysis page, but there's some few differences here. You still have the filter here, but instead of query, you have pages, so you can analyze by any page that you want. You still have impressions, clicks, and unique pages which are self-explanatory, and the rest are also self-explanatory. So you can see pages with no clicks. So for this website, you see 35 pages has no clicks, even though they have their ranking. So they have a lot of impression but no clicks. So you can use to determine, figure out those pages, and then you can start optimizing them, and then you can see pages with clicks. So if you add these two together, it should give you the number of unique pages that you're currently ranking for. And you can see the percentage of pages with no clicks, 85, which is a lot. But then this is a new website, and then many of the content are fairly new. So it makes sense that why this is the case for this particular website. But if you have an aged website and you have 85% of your page is not getting clicked, that is not good. You need a lot of work. You have a lot of work to do there. And then you add this, the bubble chart again here, and then as you can see, it's exactly the same thing as the for the query analysis page. You are seeing performance by impressions and average position. The bigger the circle, the bigger the impression that particular uh, query, that particular page has. And then you can see the name of the page right there, landing page, and then page performance by average position and CTR. So I see performance by average position and then CTR. So the bigger the circle is, the bigger the number of clicks that particular page is getting. And you can see this particular page is ranking on page 2 as a very low CTR and a lot of clicks compared to the other. So you can see 4 clicks, 0.82% CTR. So I can optimize this page maybe for title or anything to increase the CTR of that particular page. And that is one of the use case of this particular chart, but you can use to do many analysis. And then at the bottom you have the the breakdown of key metrics by landing page. So you can see how the landing page is performing. You can see the impression, clicks, CTR, and average position, each of which are being compared to the previous period. And you can see every single one of these secondary filters again. So you can filter by country, device category, you can change the search type, and then you can use the advanced filter here. And then let's go to the decay analysis page. So this allows you to do even some advanced analysis. So you can see how your website is performing in the last 30 days compared to the previous 30 days, and then in the last 6 months compared to the previous 6 months. Both table are for queries, but for different time range. This one is 30 days compared to the previous 30 days, and this one is 6 months compared to the previous 6 months. And what you'll be asking, what is the point of this page? Because you can, each of these pages are already comparing to the previous period. The thing is, for each of these pages, you cannot sort by the percentage, you cannot sort by the, yes, the percentage difference or comparison to the previous period. Also, you do not have the differences for the comparison differences. They only the search console will only show you comparison to the previous period, which is the percentage here. And then although it has, you have option to change between percentage and absolute value, can only choose one. But here you can see everything and you can sort by every one of them. So you are not limited to just the main period, or selecting between percentage difference or the absolute difference. So you can see comparison to the previous period. This last 30 days, this is the previous 30 days impression, and then you have the impression difference, and then you have the percentage of impression difference. So, and then you have the same thing for clicks, yeah, and you have the same thing for average impression. So this allow you to do more analysis, allow you to filter and sort your data and your dashboard better than the default comparison to previous period that search console that sorry that local studio gives you. And then the same thing applies here. You have comparison, you have last 6 month performance compared to this previous 6 month performance, and you have the differences, and then you have the percentage differences for impression, clicks, and then average position. You are seeing dash dash and it's zero here because again, like I said, the website or search console data I'm using here is only 5 months old, so it does not have data from the previous 6 months. And then you can see all the filters, the advanced filter, and then the normal filter for query, and then you can see the landing page filter, device category, and the country. So you can do more slicing and dicing with all this filter and then with all this metric that you have here. So this just for the query decay page, so you can see how each query are performing 30 days compared to the previous day 30, and then last 6 months compared to the previous 6 months. But you can also do the same with this page for the page. So you can see how each pages are performing for the last 30 days compared to the previous 30 days, and the last 6 months compared to the previous 6 months. And you can see the filters again. So for more slicing and dicing. And then the same thing applies to the country decay page. I see how each country are performing by each of these key metric in the last 30 days compared to the previous 30 days. You can see the difference and percentage difference. And you can see the same thing for the last 6 months. And then the same thing applies to the device category performance over the last 30 days compared to the previous 30 days and last 6 months compared to the previous 6 months. And you can change the search type here for each of those pages, the key pages from web to image, video, and then the rest. And then that's all about the decay analysis page. And then we have the rank analysis page. So this allows you to do an advanced analysis to see how your queries are actually performing. So you can see your queries that are on top three position, top in the first, second, and third position on Google search, and then top 4 to 10 positions on Google search. And then you can see your queries, number of queries on page 2, number of queries on page 3 to 5, and number of queries on page 5 and above. So you can see the aggregated data compared to the previous period, and then the performance over the last 12 months plus the current month. I already explained why you only see multi few bars here. So, and then you see the number of unique queries that you're actually ranking for here. So the performance by average position and impression are exactly the same thing, and the performance by average position and the etc. are exactly the same thing as the query analysis page, which I already explained here. And then you can see how many query, you can see performance over the daily breakdown over time. So you can see in the last 28 days, because we select the last 28 days from the date range selected there. So you can see how each of these how query are performing on each of these SERP pages. You can see top three, how many queries you have on top three, and how many queries you have on page 2, how many query you have on the top 10, 4 to 10 position, how many query you have on page 3 to 5, and how many pages you have on page 5 plus over time. So if you change this date range, you can see even for longer period, but this allows you to see each of these bucket performance over the last 28 days, or the selected date range that you selected. And then you can see this breakdown again, the query, clicks, CTR, average position. So you can analyze, you can filter the dashboard by one query or multiple queries, device category, country, and then you can still use the advanced query filter here, so you can filter to see where it's performing and if that has changed over time. And then you have the top three page here, which allows you to do even deeper analysis for queries in the top three positions. So you can see the number of queries in the top three position, how many impressions they are getting, how many clicks they are getting, what is their CTR, and then you can see the average position, and then you can see the unique number of queries in total. So you can see performance over the last 12 months plus current month. Again, I already explained why you have scattered data here, because the website is fairly new, and then you can see there are none here because this website does not have history for number of for clicks in the top three positions. And if you see there's only one query here for this particular page, for this particular bucket. So at the moment, only one query is ranking in the top three position on Google. So you can see the impressions getting the clicks, see their average position, and then you can do slicing and dicing with all these filter here, and then the trend for the queries. You can see how they are trending over time, and then you can change the metric here: impression, clicks, average position, CTR, and unique query. And then this is exactly the same as I already explained in the previous pages: performance by average position and impression, and the performance by average position and the CTR. So you can see how each of the query are performing for further and better analysis. And then the same thing applies to this for the rest of the pages, just that instead of top 3, this is top 10. These are queries are ranking on position 10, position 4 to position 10. You can see the number of queries, the number of impressions, the number of clicks, their CTR, then their average position, and then the unique query. You can see the trends for all of those queries over time, and you can see the performance of each query here by impression and the average position, and then by impression and the CTR. And then you can see those queries that are ranking in the from position 4 to 10 here. And then you can filter any of the, you can use advanced all this filter for slicing and dicing and for better and more informed analysis. So the same thing applies here for queries on page 2. The explanation is the same thing as what I've already explained here. I like to dig deeper into each of these buckets. So for page 2, position 11 to 20, and for page 3 to 5, position 21 to 50. As you can see, and then for page 5 plus. So these are queries ranking on position 51 and above. So you can see, everything you see on this dashboard is particular to queries that are only ranking in those positions. So that's all about the ranking analysis page. And then we go to the search intent page. This allows you to analyze your dashboard based on the search intent of each query. So you can see we have unclassified for query that does not fit into the bucket that we already put. So you have navigation, information, commercial, and then there is another one there. So you can see performance over time. So you can see navigation, unclassified, informational, commercial, and then there's one more. There's one more that this is currently not ranking for. Let me just change the date range. I change to October. I can't remember. There's one more search intent there. Yeah, transactional query. So you can see transactional query if you change. So if you select this, you can demo this particular dashboard with your own data, and then you see all the available search intent type. So the rest of the dashboard is the explanation is the same thing: impression, click, CTR, average position, unique pages, unique query, and the performance by average position and impression. And then this one is a new chart here: search intent performance by device category, and then you have optional metric here because the default one is impression. You can change to clicks, CTR, average position, and a unique query. So you can see performance for this. So you can see this is on classified navigation, and then you can see for desktop each of the search intent how they are performing by device category: desktop, mobile, and then tablets. And then you have the trends, daily trend by default, but you can also change to weekly view to see how they are performing on a weekly basis. And then if you go back to daily performance, you can click on this to see the monthly performance. I already explained how to actually use this monthly performance earlier using the query analysis page. So right, and then you have the last breakdown section here. You still have the advanced filter, the normal filter, the search type filter, country and device category here. And then you have each search intent and the query that is classified under them and their performance by impression, clicks, CTR, and about average position. And you can see it's comparing to the previous period. If this bucket, you can always edit how you classify the search intent here, but we use the general classification of search intent for this particular page. If this does not apply to your website, you can always edit this dashboard. If you buy the dashboard, you can message me and I can teach you how to actually edit it if you are not fluent in SQL. But it's a very simple thing. It takes few minutes to actually edit and change the classification or the case statement that we use for this classification to suit your own website better. But this is general one. This is general. This website is just unique. That's why I see a lot of unclassified. And then the last page of this dashboard is the brand slash generic page. So this page is very unique because it's allowing you to see performance by branded keyword and generic keyword. Branded keyword are keyword that contain your maybe your company or your website name. For this particular one, data clear, so data clear, and then you have another brand term, data with no space and clear. So you can, I've already explained how to make a copy of this dashboard. If you get this dashboard, and then you can change the how you define brand and generic query. And then what I want to explain here is that you can see the impression, click, CTR, average position, unique pages, and then you can see they are very very different compared to what you have been seeing before. If you go back, instead of 2118 impression, the normal impression is 3199. You might be asking why that is the case. Well, I will explain. Number one, when you want to make a copy of this diagram, you will realize there are two tables. There is site impression table and the URL impression table. The site impression table, I use it for only ranking and this particular pages, the brand generic pages. For the most part, you only need the URL impression table to do majority of the analysis you need in Search Console. If you open your Search Console data, the default table they are using is the site impression table, which I believe is a little bit wrong for the most part. But in the moment you add page filter or anything, they will change to URL impression table. But for this dashboard, I'm using URL impression table for majority of the pages, except the rank analysis page and the brand pages, which is where I believe the site impression table is necessary because you are analyzing the entire website data, not just page by page or query by query basis. So for this one, number one, that's the first reason why the impression, clicks, and CTR are different from the ones that you have already been seeing. And the second reason is that I have removed on anonymized query, so you can actually see all the queries that you are currently ranking for branding and generic without the anonymized query just just uh, just linking around. So you can actually do better analysis with your branded and then a generic query analysis. So that's why these numbers are slightly different from the normal numbers that you have been seeing all along. And then the use of these sections are the same thing. You can drill up to weekly view, you can drill down to monthly view, and then you can see performance by average position and the impression, performance by average position and the CTR, then clicks. The bigger the circle is, and then you still have the the table here. So I see impression, clicks, CTR, and average position. You can see the queries and whether they are branded and generic. This should be two lines for generic and branded, but the website I'm currently using does not have any branded query, so that's why you're only seeing one line chart here. So this is an area chart that's supposed to be showing performance by both generic and branded. So that's it. If you have any question, especially for this page, you can see instead of 12 click, you can see 0 clicks here because we have filtered out clicks for anonymized query. And we already know that, as I explained earlier, we saw earlier that the number of queries with clicks is 0. So if you remove all queries, all the anonymized queries, it will remove all the clicks because the number of query with clicks is 0. But if you use this this data control, you can select your own Google Search Console data, and then filter it will populate this dashboard by your own data, and you can understand better and you can actually see what I'm talking about. You can see both branded and non-branded query with this, and then you can which allow you to do better and more granular analysis. Well, that's all about this dashboard. You go back to the review page. If you have any questions, please let me know. This brand and generic query, I don't think you will not be able to use this particular if you just change the if you select your own data here, you have to there's a parameters that you have to edit. I've already explained. If you get this template, you have to get this template to actually have the best use of this particular page. So, or maybe in the future, I'll just put the parameter option here. So anybody that want to demo it can use their own branded query, can add their own brand query for better analysis. But at the moment, you can only use this page if you get the template and then make a copy, which I already explained how to define your own brand and generic query. So if you like what you're saying, if you believe these templates can allow you to do better analysis for your SEO, to see SEO performance or report better on SEO, or monitor your query and pages on how they and see how they perform on Google search and do better analysis or report better, you can click on this link to get the template, then click on this to go get the template. And if you have any question, please drop in the comments. The link to this demo dashboard and how to get the dashboard, the template, will be in the description and the first comment too. uh I believe that's all. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.